Billy and Ava, the two sides of power. Billy wasn't looking for anything special that day. The city was calm, people were going about their business, and he was just walking without a destination, hands in his pockets, thoughts moving faster than his steps. Then he heard something. It wasn't a noise and it wasn't a shout. It was more like a faint tremor in the air, something that made him stop abruptly. He turned around. The street looked completely ordinary. Shops, windows, passers-by. And yet, something wasn't quite right. Near the old library, he saw a girl sitting on the steps. Her hair was tied back loosely, and an open book lay in front of her. Its pages were turning by themselves, one after another, as if someone were gently nudging them. Billy approached slowly. "Is there wind here?" he asked, mostly to hear his own voice. The girl looked up. Her eyes were focused but calm. "No." "Then why is the book?" "Because I'm helping it." The pages stopped. Billy blinked. "You did that?" "Yes," she said, closing the book. "You can do it too, can't you?" He felt something tighten in his chest. "How did you know?" "The way you look at things. You don't just look normally." There was a short pause. "I'm Billy." "Ava," she replied with a slight smile. Just then a metal box slipped off a window ledge nearby. Billy raised his hand, but the box stopped before it hit the ground. Ava had raised her hand too. They looked at each other. "So I'm not the only one," Billy said. "No," Ava replied, "and I think this is only the beginning." The box settled back onto the ledge. The street went on living its life, unaware that anything unusual had happened. But for Billy, the day had just become much more interesting. Billy sat down next to Ava on the steps in front of the library. The book was closed now, but it lay there as if it were still listening. "How long have you been able to do this?" he asked. Ava shrugged. "A long time. At first it was small things, leaves, pencils, cups. Then I started to feel direction." "Direction?" "Where something wants to go." Billy thought for a moment. "It's different for me. I feel weight. How much something can carry, how much it can't." Ava looked at him with interest. "So you make things stronger, I make them more willing." They both smiled. At that moment, an elderly woman came out of the library carrying a stack of books. One slipped and started to fall. Ava tilted her head slightly and Billy reached out. The book stopped, turned, and landed back on the stack. The woman blinked. "Oh, I must have lost focus," she said, and went back inside. "You do it quietly," Billy noted. "You do it solidly," Ava replied. Further down the street, a group of children had gathered around a broken book cart. One wheel had come loose, and everyone was talking at once. "It won't move." "Can we fix it?" "No way." Ava stood up. "Come on." Billy followed her. She knelt by the cart, and he took position on the other side. "Ready?" she asked. "Yes." The wheel turned and clicked back into place. The children gasped. "How did you do that?" "With cooperation," Ava said, smiling. As they walked away, Billy glanced at her. "You help a lot, don't you?" "Only when it's needed," she replied. "You too." He nodded. For the first time, he didn't feel alone with his power, and that changed everything. They walked together along the street by the library. They weren't in a hurry, but they weren't dragging their feet either, moving the way people do when they don't need to explain why they're together. Billy looked around, while Ava looked straight ahead, as if she already knew where they were going. "Aren't you afraid someone might see you?" Billy asked after a while. Ava thought before answering. "I used to be, not so much anymore. People see what they expect to see." "And if they don't expect something like this?" "Then they forget it." They passed a construction site. 2 workers were arguing near a pile of bricks, while a third was holding a metal frame that was tilting dangerously. A little more to the left. No, it'll fall like that. Ava stopped. Here. Billy already knew what that meant. He took position on one side, she on the other. The frame settled, the bricks aligned, and the workers fell silent. Well done, kids, one of them said. Good thing you helped. As they walked away, Billy turned to Ava. Do you always know what's going to happen? No, she said. But I feel when something wants to be set right. It's like the city talks to you. More like it hints. They stopped near a small cafe. Outside, one table was uneven, cups wobbling, while the waiter tried to fix it. Everything's going to spill, he said angrily. Ava smiled. Your turn. Billy raised his hand. The table levelled out, the cups settled into place. The waiter sighed. Seems like today every problem finds a solution. When they sat on the bench across the street, Billy looked at her seriously. You know, if there are more like us, Ava interrupted him. There are, just not everyone comes out. He thought about it. Then why are you here? Because I don't want to pretend anymore. Billy smiled. For the first time, the idea that they weren't alone didn't scare him. On the contrary, it sounded like a beginning. After the cafe, they headed toward the older part of the city. The streets there were narrower, the buildings closer together, and the windows seemed to guard stories no one told out loud anymore. Ava walked confidently, as if the place were familiar to her. Have you been here before? She asked. No, Billy replied, but it's interesting. At one corner they saw a small group of people gathered around an old basement door. The door was heavy and the key was stuck in the lock. It won't budge. There are tools inside. We need access. Ava bent down and studied the lock. This isn't about strength. Billy stood next to her. Then what is it about? Direction. The key turned slightly as if it had found the right path, and the door opened with a soft click. The people sighed with relief. Thank you. No problem, Ava said calmly. As they continued, Billy looked at her thoughtfully. So it's not always about moving heavy things. Sometimes it's about understanding what an object wants to do. They stopped by an old fountain. The water was dripping to the side, wetting the stones around it. Ava bent down, and Billy stood opposite her. Your turn, she said. Billy focused. The spout turned slightly, and the water began to flow straight down. Ava nodded. See, you're not alone in this anymore. Billy smiled. For the first time, he didn't feel the weight of his power, only something like balance. They walked on, and the old part of the city accepted them without questions, and Billy began to understand that meeting Ava was no accident. The street opened into a small inner courtyard hidden between buildings. There were no shops and no noise, just a few benches, a tree with low branches, and an old playground with a rusty goal. Two children were standing in front of it, arguing loudly. I told you the ball would get stuck. Nothing would have happened if the goal wasn't like this. The ball was wedged high in the net, tangled in the metal wires. One child jumped, the other pulled at the net, but nothing worked. Ava stopped. We can help here, she said, but only if we're careful. Billy nodded. Tell me how. She turned to the children. Step back a little, okay, and don't pull any more. They did. Billy reached toward the ball while Ava focused on the net. The metal relaxed, the knot loosened, and the ball dropped straight into the boy's hands. Wow, he shouted. How did you do that? Together, Ava said with a smile. Now go play, but be careful. As they walked on, Billy thought for a moment. When we're together, it's easier. Because we don't do the same thing, she replied. You keep things steady, I show them where to go. So we balance each other. Exactly. At the end of the courtyard, they saw an elderly man trying to straighten a fallen fence. The wood was cracked and the screws were loose. I don't want to replace it, he said when he saw them. Just make it stand again. Ava bent down and examined the fence. Can you hold it? She asked Billy. He nodded. The fence straightened and stayed in place while the man tightened the screws. Well, that's much better, the man said happily. Thank you. When they left the courtyard, Billy realized he no longer thought of his power as something to hide. With Ava beside him, it felt like a tool, useful, precise, and timely. Ava, he said. Yes? I'm glad I met you. She looked at him and smiled wider than before. Me too, this is just the beginning. They left the courtyard and headed toward the wider boulevard. The city sounded different there, more voices, more movement, more things happening at once. Billy noticed how Ava wasn't looking with her eyes so much as with her attention, as if she could feel the tension in the air. There's always something to fix here, she said. How can you tell? By the way people stop, then start again. Something's holding them up. Near the tram stop, a group of people had gathered around a cart loaded with large water bottles. One wheel had come off its track, and the cart leaned dangerously. They're going to spill. Don't touch it, it'll get worse. Billy and Ava approached. She knelt by the wheel. Don't lift it yet. Okay, Billy said, taking position opposite her. The wheel slid back into place, the frame straightened, and the bottles stayed put. One of the men laughed. Today's a good day. They walked on when Ava suddenly stopped. Did you hear that? What? That sound. From a nearby street came loud clanking. A construction crane had jammed, and the workers were arguing about how to free it. If we pull more, it'll get worse. There's no other way. Ava turned to Billy. We'll need to be precise here. He nodded. They took positions on either side. The metal parts aligned, the cable loosened, and the crane stopped straining. One of the workers looked at them in surprise. Hey, you two did a great job. As they moved away, Billy sighed. I used to do everything alone. And how was that? Ava asked. Heavier. Now it's clearer, she replied.